Hi everyone, I'm Linda Reimer, one of the librarians at the Southeast Steuben County Library. Welcome to Library Connections, our weekly readers, viewers, and listeners advisory video cast. Enjoy. Library Connections number 33. This video cast is being recorded on Thursday, December 10th, 2020. Jumping right in with the top 5 fiction bestsellers of the week, courtesy of the New York Times. At number 1, Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. In a sequel to Ready Player 1, Wade Watts discovers a technological advancement and goes on a new quest. At number 2, A Time for Mercy by John Grisham, the third book in the Jake Briggs series. A 16-year-old is accused of killing a deputy in Clanton, Mississippi in 1990. At number 3, Deadly Cross by James Patterson, the 28th book in the Alex Cross series. An investigation of a double homicide sends Alex Cross to Alabama. At number 4, The Return by Nicholas Sparks. A doctor serving in the Navy in Afghanistan goes back to North Carolina, where 2 women change his life. And at number 5, Daylight by David Baldacci. The FBI agent Adelie Pine's search for her twin sister overlaps with a military investigator's hunt for someone involved in a global conspiracy. Moving on to the top 5 nonfiction bestsellers of the week. At number 1, A Promised Land by Barack Obama. In the first volume of his presidential memoirs, Barack Obama offers personal reflections on his formative years and pivotal moments through his first term. At number 2, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. The Academy Award-winning actor shares snippets from the diaries he kept over the last 35 years. At number 3, Becoming by Michelle Obama. The former First Lady describes her journey from the south side of Chicago to the White House and how she balanced work, family, and her husband's political ascent. At number 4, Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. The Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist examines aspects of caste systems across civilizations and reveals a rigid hierarchy in America today. And at number 5, Untamed by Glennon Doyle. The activist and public speaker describes her journey of listening to her inner voice. Jumping right in with our first recommended read of the week, this one's a holiday title. It's called A Resolution at Midnight by Shelley Noble. Christmas in 1907 New York City provides the backdrop for Noble's enticing third Lady Dunbridge mystery. Since moving to New York, the beautiful, witty Philomena Amesbury, widowed Countess of Dunbridge, has been carrying out the occasional undercover detective operation for the mysterious Mr. X. Lady Phil's latest assignment is to meet a source at a movie theater. But when she arrives, she finds the man dead, his throat cut. The murdered man, Tommy Green, a reporter for the New York Times, was going to pass off some important information for Mr. X, but the newspaper reports that Green's body was found at the docks, Why is the murder being covered up, and by whom? With the help of her faithful, clever servants and an intrepid female reporter who is desperate to get off the society beat, Phil uncovers a complex scheme involving blackmail, greed, and family secrets that lead directly to the top of New York society. Colorful period details include the first Times Square New Year's Eve ball drop in 1908. Historical fans will be well satisfied, and that is the publisher's weekly review of our first recommended read of the week. Our second recommended read for this week is the novel One Night, Two Souls Went Walking, written by Ellen Cooney. Cooney's brief but compelling novel, in which an unnamed chaplain takes readers on her rounds during one night at a large northeastern hospital, explores issues like mortality, spiritual survival, and human connection. The 36-year-old Episcopal chaplain, frizzy-haired and pear-shaped, has what her boss calls a natural gift for telling people just what they need to hear. Her instinctive ability to soothe becomes increasingly evident as she travels from one patient to another. She is spiritual, but practical. While she asks, "What is a soul?" in the novel's first line, and returns to the question in different guises throughout, the narrator's spiritual quest does not cause her moral qualms about lying when necessary, whether to soothe a doctor who fears she's sinned, or give hope to a dying chef who expects his former restaurant patrons to visit en masse. Her favorite patients are an elderly, deeply lonely librarian and a 15-year-old boy who survived a catastrophic accident, physically shattered, but with his gentle magnetism intact. Less appealing characters, like a lawyer who is rude to the staff, also receive her understanding. Each has a story. Often, the stories lead the chaplain to stories from her own past. A subtle plot takes shape almost between the lines, concerning the chaplain's unresolved relationship with Plummy, a neuroscientist 10 years her junior, now living in Germany, who's fascinated by out-of-body experiences, what he calls OBs. Confronted during her shift with two possible OBs, the chaplain is forced to re-examine the idea of soul yet again, but also to reconsider her relationship with Plummy. Those oob walks of the title may stretch credibility, but Cooney does a remarkable job structuring a novel of vignettes and stories within stories into a cohesive whole. Equally remarkable is her portrait of the chaplain as a personification of the potential for human goodness. Though introspective, the narrator is never self-absorbed. Her voice, funny and direct, keeps sentimentality at bay. The perfect novel to combat pandemic angst. And that is the starred Kirkus review of what is a very uplifting title. Our first audiobook recommendation of the week is the new Naomi Novik novel, A Deadly Education, narrated by Anisha Dayda. Novik puts a refreshingly dark and adult spin on the magical boarding school setting of this, the first book in her spellbinding Schoolomance trilogy. The students of Schoolomance, a boarding school for sorcerers, must weather survival of the fittest trials, fighting off the Lovecraftian monsters known as Mals that routinely break into the school to eat students. Graduation is the greatest challenge of all and requires the students to fight their way through the sea of Mals clustered just outside the school. Dark Sorceress L has a plan for just how she'll make it through the gates alive next year. She'll learn to control her affinity for destruction, make allies by impressing other students with her abilities, and stockpile magical energy. But Monster Slayer Orion Lake throws a huge wrench in the works. He keeps saving Elle before she can display her talents, and he has killed so many lesser Mals that the ones left are huge and they're hungry. Elle and Orion must strike up an alliance to save themselves and their schoolmates from monstrous destruction. Readers will delight in the push and pull of Elle and Orion's relationship, the fantastically detailed world, the clever magic system, and the matter-of-fact diversity of the student body. This is a must-read for fantasy fans. And that is the Starred Publishers Weekly Review. Moving along to our second audiobook recommendation of the week. This one too is fantasy. It's the new Iona Andrews novel, Emerald Blaze, written of course by Andrews, and read by Emily Rankin. When Catalina Baylor took over House Baylor and Baylor Investigative Agency, after her sister's marriage into House Rogan, she never expected to be pulled into working as the deputy warden for the state of Texas under Linus Duncan, or that prime Alessandro Segredo would break her heart and disappear for 6 months, only to return determined to protect her life at all costs. She doesn't have time for an emotional confrontation, not when she's investigating a murder, an unknown life form, and trying to keep her family safe. However, Alessandro won't take no for an answer, because in watching over Catalina, he just might get the revenge he's been seeking for decades. Verdict. The phenomenal Andrews follows up Sapphire Flame with another satisfying entry in this popular series. Action, romance, intrigue, and tons of danger leave readers wanting more of the Baylors and more of the Primes. A required purchase for all romance collections. And that's our second audiobook recommendation of the week. Moving on to our first streaming recommendation of the week, it's the film Days of Heaven from 1978, available now through Amazon Prime Video. Terrence Malick followed up Badlands, his startling debut, with this elliptical yet evocative period drama that follows 3 transients into the Texas Panhandle circa 1916. Richard Gere, in his first leading role, hides his internalized pain with brusque physicality, while Brooke Adams finds the right, quiet notes for the woman he loves and loses. But the real star here is Malick's distinctive style, which was fully formed by this sophomore effort. Gorgeous, picturesque cinematography paired with searching, thoughtful voiceover, accumulating into something less like conventional cinema and more like filmed poetry. And that is the New York Times review. Moving on to our second streaming recommendation of the weekend. This one is different, so if you're looking for something different to watch, you might want to check this one out. It's called The Lobster. The film is from 2016, and it's available through Netflix, but it actually has very little to do with lobsters. So here's what it's about. The director, Yorgos Lanthimos, casts a dryly absurd and decidedly dark eye on interpersonal relationships in this startlingly funny and undeniably acidic satire of courtship and the societal pressures tied to it. This isn't some gentle spoof, snickering at gender roles or dating conventions. It's bleak enough to imagine a couple-centered world where revolutionary movements fight unbendable mating regulations. Colin Farrell finds the right tempo for this material as a frustrated romantic in a state of perpetual disbelief, while Rachel Weisz's hard-nosed narrator and love interest provides bursts of unexpected warmth and plenty of pitch-black laughs. And that review is from Jason Bailey for the New York Times, so if you're looking for sort of a sideways trip via a movie, check out The Lobster. And our third streaming recommendation for this week is the new film Mank, available through Netflix. Cinephiles will find plenty to enjoy in Mank, David Fincher's biopic about Citizen Kane co-screenwriter Herman J. Mankiewicz, played by Gary Oldman. The film is set in the Hollywood of the Golden Age, and Mank depicts its subject's struggle to finish his screenplay under immense pressure from co-writer, producer, director, and star, and you guessed it, Orson Welles. The Netflix biopic is expected to be a serious awards contender, so if you're interested in seeing what all the fuss is about, make sure to queue it up and check it out. Finally, our Hoopla recommendation for this week. It's a streaming video, and despite the fact that it stars Jim Carrey, it's not a comedy. The movie is The Majestic from 2001. And Jim Carrey stars as Peter Appleton, a Hollywood screenwriter who in 1951 receives a summons to testify before the feared House Un-American Activities Committee. But Appleton accidentally crashes his car, develops amnesia, and ends up in a small town. His remarkable resemblance to a missing World War II hero, Luke Trimble, causes the residents, including Luke's girlfriend, to rejoice at his homecoming. The soldier's father, Academy Award winner Martin Landau, happily welcomes his son, and together they refurbish the town's decaying movie theater, The Majestic. This is a fun film, more of a drama than a comedy, but a great film to watch, so check it out. And on to our Odd Duck recommendation of the week. I came across a great new album and related NPR podcast, and I just love the album, and the podcast was super cool too, so I wanted to share. The new album is titled I'd Rather Lead a Band, and it finds singer-songwriter Loudon Wainwright III and singer and jazz band leader Vince Giordano joining forces to create a terrifically upbeat album full of classic American songs from the 1920s and the 1930s. The duo is backed by Giordano's band, the Nighthawks, and the sound is musically joyous. The album was recorded just before the pandemic, and the related NPR podcast is an episode of Fresh Air that features Terry Gross interviewing Wainwright and Giordano, who were recently recorded remotely but together from separate, socially distant studios, and of course they play some songs from the album. If you want to check it out, go to YouTube, then search for Wainwright and I'd Rather Lead a Band, and songs from the album will display. You can, likewise, if you want to check out more music by Loudon and Vince, go to Hoopla, hoopladigital.com, and enter a search for either Loudon Wainwright or Vince Giordano, and you'll find some of their music that you can instantly check out. And the podcast that I mentioned is indeed an episode of Fresh Air, so if you just Google Fresh Air and Wainwright, because this was just published last week, it was the 2nd of December, you should find the interview. That's the search result you see there on the left, Loudon Wainwright, the third and Vince Giordano play. That's the one. So you click or tap on that link and presto, you've got a 48-minute listen to listen to. And it's great fun. And the music is fantastic. So I urge you to check it out. We could all use some joyous music at the present time, and this album perfectly fits the bill. If you have questions about this weekly videocast, send me an email and I'll get back to you. My email address is reimerl@stls.org. Again, that's REIM as in Mary, ERL as in Larry, @stls.org. Current library hours are Mondays and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and currently we are closed on Wednesdays and Sundays. And that is the end of the new Library Connections content for this week. What follows are a few informational tidbits. The tidbits include directions as to where you can connect with the library online via our website, catalogs, blogs, and social media pages. Links to articles used to create this week's video, otherwise known as references, and the library's contact information. First up here, the library's website found at ssclibrary.org. From the library's website, you can access our calendar of events, general information about the library's catalogs, information on services, and more. Next up, the library's Make an Appointments page. Again, that's found through the library's website at ssclibrary.org. You can actually enter the website address in or click the purple Make an Appointment link located towards the top of the screen. And on this page, you can select one of two options. You can either make an appointment for curbside pickup, because we still offer that, or you can make an appointment to use a public computer. And if you wonder why you might want to make an appointment to use a public computer, that's because to keep proper social distancing space, we only have 6 computers available for the public right now. And you're welcome to just drop in the library, but if you drop by and they are all full, you will have to wait. And if you make an appointment, appointments take priority over people just dropping in. And we haven't had too much trouble with people having to wait, but sometimes it happens. So if you really need to use a computer, you can either make an appointment through our website or give us a call at the library to schedule an appointment. StarCat, the catalog of physical library materials that includes books, music CDs, DVDs, etc., found at starcat.stls.org. With your library card, you can log in and see what you've got checked out, renew items, request items, and basically see what's in the entire Southern Tier library system. The digital catalog, with its companion apps Libby and Overdrive. The digital catalog web version is found at stls.overdrive.com. You can download the Libby app or the Overdrive app to your mobile device so that you can enjoy eBooks and downloadable audiobooks. The Libby app is for newer devices. The Overdrive app is for older devices and Kindle tablets. Additionally, you can check out items from the digital catalog, eBooks that is, and send them to a dedicated e-reader. If you have a Kindle e-reader, the process is very simple. If you have a different type of e-reader, you want to contact the library staff and ask us how to do that because it's a little bit different. Hoopla. The Hoopla catalog features eBooks, comic books, downloadable audiobooks, and streaming videos, including both TV shows and movies. All Hoopla items are available for Southeast County Library cardholders to check out instantly. There is an item limit of 4 per month, and that is because the library has to pay for each item checked out, which is different than the what goes on with the Overdrive model, which is also known as the digital catalog. And I'm digressing a bit. If you want to know what the real differences are between Hoopla and Overdrive, send me an email and I'll be happy to explain it to you. The library blogs full of fun content, and indeed they are. We have 5 of them. The Book Club for Adults blog, the local history blog, Corning NY History, Creation Stationery, the Makerspace blog, Story Musings, a blog hosted by the library's resident author and head of adult services, Michelle Wells, and also Tech and Book Talk, which is what it sounds like. Some information about new books you might want to read, and a couple of helpful tech tips as well. If you have questions about library services during the pandemic, or want to make an appointment for curbside pickup, you are welcome to go the traditional route and simply give us a call. The library's telephone number is area code 607-936-3713. It's the same number we've had for years, so you can quickly find it online, and if you have a 10-year-old phone book floating around, it'll be in there too. Social media. Just a weekly reminder, you can connect with the library, read library news, and post questions to the library via social media. The library has pages on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. In relation, each video in this series is available on demand via the library's YouTube channel after it has first been shown on Facebook Live. So if you watch it and you missed one of the books that you wanted to write down the title of, you can go to YouTube, find it, pause it, and the video will stay right there until you're done with it. And a short list of references for this week. And that's the program for this week. I'll be back next week with a new edition of Library Connections. Have a great weekend.